Hey folks, today we're going to do a bit of an overview of where Havoc Demon Hunter is going into Dragonflight, or expansion 10.0. So overall, Havoc is, it's still a bunch of fun. It's still really fast paced. I don't want to call it erratic, but more of like a frantic play style. So there's a couple different builds here. Right now we're just taking a look at my level 60 Demon Hunter. Use this tune to knock off a couple KSMs during Shadowlands, but pretty casual play over the past expansion. Our stat priority in Mythic Plus is going to be Critical Strike because it just pairs up incredibly well with the talent Know Your Enemy. And we'll actually highlight this one over here. Actually gain Critical Strike damage equal to 40% of your Critical Strike chance. That's at rank 1. At rank 2, that jumps all the way up to 50%. So that's a go-to for us for Mythic Plus, as well as Rage Fire. The Rage Fire talent complements this a fair bit too, so we're in pretty good shape overall. Each time Immolation Aura deals damage, 35% of the damage dealt by up to 3 critical strikes is gathered as Rage Fire. When Immo Aura expires, you explode, dealing all the stored Rage Fire damage to nearby enemies. Just a ton of fun. Really nice concept for our kit. Mastery is actually really solid as well. It's probably our second most important stat in Mythic Plus, just because it pairs really well with any means necessary, and we will be going with that talent if you're not familiar with it specifically. Basically takes our demonic presence, causes any of the, call it like damage, magical damage abilities, arcane, fire, frost, nature, shadow. Take any of that damage we do, converts it over to chaos, and then increases it by 30%. So when you think about the different weapons that are out there, this could be really, really helpful for our overall throughput, and it's really attractive. In terms of rating, the stat priority changes just a little bit. Critical Strike is most important, followed by Haste, just because the benefits, how it impacts our global cooldowns as well as our standard cooldowns. Then we follow it up by Mastery and Verse. So that's kind of where we're sitting. From a Mythic Plus perspective, there's a couple different builds that are out there that we can touch on. The first one that we're going to touch on is actually this Glaive Tempest build that you can see right here. It's really similar to the other build that we have for Mythic Plus. The big difference is that we're avoiding momentum. So with this build, we're going to prioritize Chaos Theory, which should look pretty familiar for those of you that played Shadowlands. Then we're going to go with Know Your Enemy. We'll jump in here. We'll actually take Glaive Tempest. Just makes a huge difference here from the benefits from the 2 glaives spinning around. And then finally, we're going to take Essence Break. Additional to that, we will be putting our last point into Any Means Necessary. So this is kind of the critical piece that's here. Same with Any Means Necessary, and then obviously Accelerating Blade. Anything that's tied to your glaive damage is fantastic. Looking over at the standard points here, we're just going to go straight down with Erratic Fellheart and Collective Anguish. Collective Anguish is fantastic to have it in as part of your base kit. Could say the same thing with having the Hunt available to us. And then ultimately you get to choose whether you're going to go with Unnatural Malice, which is what I would recommend, just buffing your damage from your Hunt, or if you want to reduce the cooldown. So it comes down to whatever you prefer. I like big slaps, so I'm going with the Hunt for myself personally. Now the other build that we discussed was actually focused on taking momentum. So no change to our class talent tree, so that'll stick the same. Erratic Fellheart, Collective Anguish, the Hunt, Unnatural Malice, beautiful. What is different is that this actually plays really well in terms of being very cleave and AoE focused. So we're not taking Chaos Theory, we're taking Momentum. Then we're going to throw 2 ranks into Know Your Enemy, and then finally to capstone it with Essence Break. On the other side, we're going to go with Accelerating Blade, And then we'll actually jump down, and we've got a neat little choice here with Fodder to the Flame. This kind of complements this build very, very well. Throw Glaive dealing lethal damage to the demon, which explodes on depth, dealing shadow damage to all nearby enemies, healing you for 25% of your max health. This was literally a legendary for us. So having access to this in our kit while having access to momentum is a ton of fun. So that's our Mythic Plus builds going into Shadowlands. The next two pieces that I would recommend we look at, we'll go into the two raid setups that we have. Starting off, we're actually going to go with a momentum base build. And what you'll see here rather quickly for talents, we're going to go with both momentum and chaos theory. We abandon the right hand side of the tree effectively with this build. We're going to go with cycle of hatred, get your 2 ranks there. Additionally, we're going to jump in and go with Fodder to the Flame again. But this time our capstones are going to be Shattered Destiny. So the duration of your active demon form is extended by 0.1 second for every 8 fury spent. I would have liked to see those ratios a little bit better, but this is a start. And then additionally, we're going to continue with Know Your Enemy, 2 ranks in that, and then Essence Break. So that's build 1. That's probably going to get the most damage from you. However, it is very reliant on a high degree of movement, and that's just associated with momentum. Playing with Essence Break and I-Beams actually kind of puts you in a spot where you're holding cooldowns a little bit. So if you're enjoying Demon Hunters because they don't have a lot of buttons to press, sitting on cooldowns doesn't always feel rewarding. So if you want a little bit more of a frantic build, you can go for the non-momentum approach, and this is again where we're kind of focused on our critical chaos builds that come in here. There's a couple different perks with going this way. Yeah, the real benefit here is that your Essence Break windows pair really well with your I-Beams, consistent with the last build. But it's just a little bit behind from an overall simulation perspective. So just to touch on the key talents with this build, we want to go down. Again, we'll go with Fodder to the Flame, Cycle of Hatred. We're actually going to jump in here and go with Glaive Tempest, Know Your Enemy, and Essence Break. So a single capstone with this build, but like 5 points thrown up here overall in your second last tier. It's going to make it a ton of fun. It's also going to give you some access to Netherwalk if you want to play around with some of your utility on the other side. I really like this. I'm not always in love with the momentum build, so it's probably how I'm going to raid, at least starting off here in Season 1. Alright folks, that's the quick and dirty of the video. Let me know what you like, let me know what needs to be different, and most of all, have fun. Thanks for watching. Peace.